And with that being said, we are done with all of our reviews for the week. And so we are going to go ahead and shift gears to the second annual 2024 summer movie draft. Is going down. We kicked this off last year. We did our 2023 summer movie draft for the first time ever, where we both drafted 10 movies, basically in a little friendly competition to see what was going to be the best movies of the 2023 summer movie season, because last year was really kind of the first year where it felt like we were getting a lot of the heavy hitters. We were getting a lot of movies that we were super excited to see. We were definitely well out of COVID at that point. Movies were coming out again. Of course, we couldn't have predicted how long the strikes would last, but be that as it may, 2024 is here. We've talked a lot about this year. 3 months ago, we did our most anticipated movies of the year list, where we talked about many of the big releases that are going to be coming out. And of course, summer is pretty much the most busy time of the year in terms of releases. I mean, there's just so many films that'll be coming out. Before we talk about the rules and actually get into the draft, man, I just kind of want to get your thoughts and outlook on the summer movie season that's ahead of us, because this episode is dropping May 1st, and really this first weekend in May typically kicks off the summer movie season. And so for the next three or so months, we're going to be at the movies quite a lot, checking out all these new releases. So how are you feeling about things that are coming down the pipeline?
Man, it's such an interesting year. I think we talked about this at the top of the year too, when we were just going through the episodes you were just talking about. But it's like B franchisey summer. You know what I mean? Like, none of these are big superhero movies that we're getting or anything. It's really just a bunch of movies that could be good, but could also not go that well. It's really, it's kind of how it feels. They can go any direction with any of these releases, no matter how big they are. And so that's kind of where I sit. I'm still excited because it actually has the potential to be a phenomenal summer. But on the flip side, it could be terrible. You know what I mean? So we'll just have to see when we get to that point. But I think there's a lot of potential here. And yeah, man, I'm excited to watch a lot of these movies. Especially, you cooked me last year, by the way. I think. Well, the points were closer.
It was really close. Yeah,
I feel like the points were closer than the actual layout. You know what I mean? I looked at your movies. I said, wait a second, he kind of cooked me, man. So I'm just trying to do better this year. That's all.
Well, I think we changed, a couple quick things, so it probably will be a little bit more balanced. But it's also, I think it's more unpredictable as well this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Last year when we were picking movies, like for example, my first overall pick, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I feel like we both wanted that as the first overall pick. That felt super obvious. This year, I'm like, it can go a couple different ways. And then when you get even deeper into the lists, there's just so many unpredictables and unknowns. Some films have premiered to limited audiences and have a little bit of reception and feedback, but you never really know until something hits the public how consensus works, and how the majority of people might feel about a certain thing. There are a lot of sleeper potential movies that can do really, really well, a couple of big franchise picks, but for the most part, we're kind of working in that BC level territory. But I think that that's exciting just because of the upside that potentially exists there. I think that the ceiling is probably much higher compared to last year, where just frankly, most of the big franchise picks that came out were big disappointments for me. Like, I just was not satisfied with a lot of them. It was almost like week after week, it's like, wow, these are just not living up to my expectations. I thought that Pixar movie was going to be great. I thought that Indiana Jones movie was going to be great, but they really weren't. Everything was kind of built around Barbenheimer and that phenomenon, which just took over the whole conversation. This year, I think that there's just a lot more variety and potentially more depth in that case, from some really interesting franchises and also some new filmmakers and some well-established filmmakers. So it'll be an interesting 2024 season. And hopefully it's not something that we look back on and say like, "Ooh, that was a tough few months." I'm hoping that the opposite is true. And so we'll see over the course of these next few months. But let's dive in and do this summer movie draft. Before we officially start to make our picks, I want to just quickly run down the rules of the summer movie draft. We haven't changed up too much, but just one quick change that I do want to outline. But first and foremost, we each will be drafting 10 overall films that are currently slated to release this upcoming summer, which means that 20 films ultimately will be selected. We have a list of about 50 films here, and that's not even including everything. I mean, there's even more than that, but got a life, you know, I couldn't pull everything. But these are like all the big films that are going to be coming out, as well as some streaming things and some more low-key things as well that we'll be selecting from. Once a film is selected, it's no longer available to be drafted. That's pretty obvious. And once selections are made, we're not going to be allowed to make any changes to our list unless something ends up getting rescheduled or booted. Then we'll have to revisit and then maybe make some substitutions. But beyond that, no changes will be made. After today, our lists are going to be locked. The eligibility period for these films are going to start with this upcoming weekend, May 3rd, with the wide release of The Fall Guy, the first big movie of the summer. And it'll run all the way until Labor Day weekend with the wide release of Beetlejuice. And so that's kind of the time frame that we're working with. Films that are being released theatrically and or on streaming are eligible to be drafted. And the films that are going to be selected today must be having their first official limited or wide release in the summer of 2024. Therefore, re-releases don't count. There's a lot of movies being re-released this summer. Phantom Menace, Lord of the Rings. We're not picking those. Only new releases. How we're going to determine the winner when we revisit this after Labor Day. We use Letterboxd because we both frequently utilize that site. We share our ratings. And basically, if you've been on Letterboxd or if you haven't, the site ranks movies with 5 stars, with each half star making it a 10-point scale. So you have 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, so on and so forth. And all films on Letterboxd have a weighted average score with a range of 0.5 to 5. And so that's how they calculate what the weighted average of all those scores for every movie are. And so when we get to the end of the summer during Labor Day weekend, we're going to take the weighted average scores of each of our 10 films from the list, and then we're going to take the overall average of those 10 weighted scores. That's how we're going to calculate the final number. And basically, whoever's list has the higher overall average is going to be declared the winner of the 2024 summer movie draft. So I know I said a lot. That was a mouthful, but that's how we get to our official winner. We're going to take those weighted scores, add them up, do the average. Boom, you got your winner. And so we should get into it. We're going to kick off things, but we're going to do a coin toss first and foremost to determine who's going to get the first overall pick. And how this is going to work this year, this is the one quick change. Let's just say, for example, Dez wins the coin toss. He'll get his first overall pick, and then I'll follow up with my first overall pick as well as my second overall pick. And then it'll go back to Dez. He'll take his second overall pick and third overall pick, and then I'll get my third overall pick, and then we'll go back and forth one by one. So by the time we reach the conclusion of round 3, that's when we'll start to just go one by one. We made this change just to make it a little bit more balanced because, if somebody just keeps getting the first pick every single round, it's probably not as fair. And so this is going to, hopefully create a little bit more balance between our two lists. And so that's how we're going to determine who wins this particular draft and who goes first. I'm going to actually share my screen. We're doing this like in real time. So we can do a virtual coin toss. I'm not going to throw a real coin. Just going to do a little virtual coin toss here. Let me see if I can get the proper screen shared. Can you see that, my guy?
I can.
You can see that. Okay, so I will allow you to make the pick. Are you going to take heads or tail for this coin toss?
Give me a tails. You're
going to take tails?
Okay. I'm in Sonic mode, yeah.
Fair enough. So if you're listening to this, we're using a virtual coin toss. We're using justflipacoin.com. Felt like the easiest thing to use. Justflipacoin.com if you ever need a coin toss. But you're picking tails. I'm going to go ahead and flip the coin virtually.
Why can you color the coin? What's the
I don't know. Let's just change it to blue just for shits and giggles. Why not? A blue color toss here. But you're choosing tails. I'll go ahead and flip it right now. Let's go. And it is tails.
Hey,
you won. You got it. So it will be tails, which means you will get the first overall pick. And then I'll follow up with my 2 picks and then your 2 picks. And then we will go back and forth that way. So, a little bit of a reversal of fortune. I went first last year. You'll be going first this year. So I guess with all of that said, man, with all of the rules, are you ready to go? Ready to get this cracking?
I'm ready to go, man. I think I'm ready.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well, let's do it. What's your first overall pick from the 2024 summer movie draft?
Oh man, the first pick is the hardest. Again, everything feels like it's just I don't know how anything is going to go. You know what I mean? And I'm honestly probably not going to go with the super obvious. I'm actually about to swing for the fences. Are you ready? I'm about to swing.
All right, let's hear it.
Already, it's crazy, right? This is why I lost last year. I'll be swinging, boy. All right. My first pick is going to be Inside Out 2.
Wow, that
I'm
is a
swinging.
swing. Oh my goodness.
I'm swinging. So
wow.
part of the reason I'm making that swing is Pixar hasn't had a sequel in a very long time. And some of the recent sequels we did get was Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4, which both of those movies did pretty darn well. I am, as I did last year. Last year I failed. I think I picked Elemental was on my list. Boo. Throw it out the window.
But you picked it from a good place though, like going with the Pixar brand, the reliability of them. It made sense.
This is like furthering that. I think I am not necessarily betting, but I am hoping that this is the Pixar return to form because they need it. They literally cannot. This movie can't fail. Or if not, Pixar is not a thing anymore. Like we can't fail. Again, of course, Soul was good and others. We can't fail. I'm going with Inside Out 2. I like the voice cast. The trailer is good. I'm swinging. I'm doing it. That's my first pick.
Wow. That is a swing. I did not see that come in, but I will say, Inside Out 2. So the first one was tremendous. A great film. I think caught a lot of people by surprise. To think that the second one will be any different is, I think that makes sense. Like it should live up to the expectations. And when they deliver sequels to these really, really beloved franchises and properties, and the fact that it's been almost 10 years, I think one would assume the care and the time and the attention has been put into this one. And this one does ride on this because the past, I would say 4 years for Pixar has been really, really rocky. But this could be the movie to reverse their fortunes and hopefully establish them and get them back to their former glory. Because we all want that. That's what we want to experience and see. Miss that. And so I admire the courage to make that pick.
Hey, YOLO, that's a YOLO pick right there.
I would have picked it not this high, but I do admire the swing for sure. Well, with that said, I'll go ahead and make my first and my second overall pick. First, the one that I'm going to pick, I was going back and forth with my first overall spot, but I think I've landed on the one that I'm going to pick. And we've talked a lot about it already. We've had this conversation many times about this movie and our anticipation and excitement of it. I'm going with Deadpool and Wolverine as my first overall pick. Hopefully this is everything we want it to be. Hopefully this is also a return to form for the MCU. They're in a similar predicament where a lot is kind of riding on this movie and the reputation of that particular franchise. And I think we all want to be back in a place where we feel like the MCU is event level filmmaking again, where we all talk about the same exact movie. We're all excited about it. And just the potential that exists in terms of it being a love letter to previous movies, previous superheroes. I want this to be one of the best MCU movies that we ever get. And I think that knowing that this is the third one, knowing that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in particular are two guys who don't play about this shit, they do not play. Like when it's time to play Deadpool or Wolverine for either of them, they get serious.
That's them.
Yep. And they know. And I think that they know that this is something fans have been yearning for years to see these two team up. And also just the place that the MCU is in, they got to deliver. And so I'm placing high hopes with Deadpool or Wolverine. My second overall pick, I want to go one way, but I'm gonna go in a slightly different direction. I was gonna go with potentially another franchise pick, but I'm not gonna do that. My second overall pick, I'm gonna go with the hot hand coming off of Academy Award wins. I'm going with Yorgos Lanthimos' Kinds of Kindness. That's gonna be my second overall pick. Emma Stone is back in this movie. Incredible cast. Yorgos is one of the most talked about, interesting, and unique filmmakers that we have working. Emma Stone is at the peak of her powers at this point. And I think that this is going to be a fun Yorgos movie. Poor Things was fun for me. The Favorite's fun, but this is going to be fun in a modern context. This is going to be fun in a 2024, what it appears to be context. And so it's going to be a bit smaller. It's not necessarily going to have everybody in the world talking about it, but just based on the reaction to Poor Things, I mean, everybody kind of wanted to see that movie. And I think that Yorgos is becoming like a brand name filmmaker to where it's like, yo, what's this new movie that this interesting director is behind? I got to go see that. And so I think that this might be another surprise hit of the summer. So that's going to be my second pick.
What's so interesting, I think, about Yorgos, I feel like the types of films he makes used to not be the way, like mainstream. Like he's a very art house weird filmmaker, and it's crazy that he is now becoming like a brand that people actually want to actively go see. I think that's like don't know if unprecedented is the word because that's not true, but it's very rare. I think that you get that. Yeah, so that's crazy, man.
That transition
love
is really
picks.
tough. Yeah, where like somebody starts off making very specific niche films and then they become somewhat of a blockbuster filmmaker. Both The Favorite and Poor Things, if I'm not mistaken. I know Poor Things did, and I think The Favorite also crossed 100 million worldwide on these very, very small budgets. That is a testament to the fact that he makes movies that get people talking, and their release strategies that they do are very, very thoughtful and very cerebral in how they get movies out there to the public, followed by, their award seasons bumps and their streaming bumps. And so I think that this is going to be a similar situation to where he's going to deliver a really interesting experience in the summer, and we'll probably talk about it for the rest of the year. But let's go ahead and move on. For you get 2 more picks. You'll make your second and third overall picks. So what are you going with next?
Yeah. I'm going to go double franchise here. I'm going with 2 franchise picks, 2 heavy hitters. One, which I'm sure you was about to pick, but I have to. My number 2 pick is going to be Furiosa, of course. I think this movie's going to be nuts. I really do. Just everything surrounding this movie is it just looks good, man. George Miller, what we did with Mad Max Fury Road was just insane. It's literally one of my favorite movies probably ever, but also just of that decade. It's crazy. The high octane, the way it looks, the world building. Now we got all of those things plus Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's like, yeah, it's time to get to it. So that's going to be my second pick. My third pick, I am going to go with A Quiet Place, day one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just love this franchise, to be honest. I like the first one and the second one pretty evenly, I think. At first, I thought I liked the first one overwhelmingly, which I think I do still give it a couple more points above the second one. But I enjoy these movies very much. You take that, and now you put 2 black people at the center. You got Lupita, you got Digimon Hounsu, and I'm like, they might have something here. A Quiet Place in New York, let's do it. So I'm very excited to watch both of those films, man. Again, I think they're one is a little more thrillery, the other one's a little more actiony, but I'm excited to see how these movies turn out.
No, good picks for sure. And in addition to A Quiet Place, it's a big summer for horror films. There's a lot of horror movies coming out this summer, big and small scale, and so it's going to be a interesting horror movie season when it comes to the summer box office. Furiosa, that's a great pick. It definitely would have been on my list for sure. I think George Miller is the master of that franchise. He'll make them until he's in his grave. At this
really
point. And this is also the longest one. We just found out that this movie is going to be 2 hours and 28 minutes. So it's going to be a sprawling epic for sure. And I think every single second of that 148-minute runtime is probably going to be spectacular. So I certainly can't wait to see it when it comes out later this month. Going to move on and make my next 2 picks. And first, I'm going to go with one that I don't think a lot of people have probably heard about, but it's definitely on my radar. Another smaller movie, not going with the franchise here. I'm picking Evil Does Not Exist.
I knew it.
That is the new film from director Ryusuke Hamaguchi, who is coming off of Drive My Car, which came out a couple of years ago, which was one of the best films of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. I think it came out that year, 2022.
Yeah, that's right.
Phenomenal movie. This is his follow-up film. I think that he's a filmmaker that is certainly in demand right now to tell very, very specific stories, specific to the Japanese experience. And he carries a lot of emotional heavy weight in his storytelling. And I think from a perspective of being well received and being a director that people typically like to praise and give that critical acclaim to, I think that this movie, it might not be as good as Drive My Car. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but just knowing the pedigree and the type of filmmaker that he is, I think that he's going to once again deliver here. And so that's going to be my next pick. And then the follow-up pick after that I'm going to make, and I'm going back and forth about this. I don't exactly know, but I'm just going to go with feelings. I'm going to choose, and maybe a surprise move, but with the filmmaker, it's not necessarily a surprise, but I'm going to choose a streaming movie. I'm actually going to choose Hitman, which is the new Richard Linklater movie that's coming out on Netflix. And it's starring Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona. I'm very excited about this. Linklater, fantastic filmmaker. He's incredibly consistent. He's made some of the most emotionally poignant movies of the 20th and 21st century. This one looks to be a lot more action heavy, with still a great story at the center of it. But I have high hopes for him just as a filmmaker. And I think Glenn Powell, one of the more impressive up-and-coming movie stars that we're making today. Sure. He's making a lot of great choices. I love what he's doing. I love the trajectory that he's on. So I have high hopes about this one as well. So those are going to be my next two picks. I'm picking Evil Does Not Exist, and then Hitman is going to be my next overall pick.
Amazing, man. Hitman. We'll see. Netflix is scary. Netflix is always scary, but I really do love that pick. But when it comes to whatchamacallit, what's the movie you just said before that?
Oh, Evil Does Not Exist.
Evil Does Not Exist was actually going to be my next pick. So it was definitely on my list. I think it's going to be such a good movie. Like you said, the pedigree is there. I just know it's going to be a phenomenal film. So it's like one of my favorite posters of a movie I've ever seen. Like if y'all listening to this, just look up the post. It is beautiful. Like I can't explain it. It's very simple. It's just like a shot, but I think it's great. Do I do next two or next one? I mean,
you do. Oh no, actually, yeah, I kind of messed it up. You should do next two, and then I'll do one, and then that'll get us that'll get us to one apiece. So you could take two more.
I could do two more. I'm going to do the Bike Riders, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very excited about that movie. Man, this dude Austin Butler is crazy. Jodie Comer, I sang her praises on what was that movie? The
Last Duel. Yep.
The Last Duel. Oh my God. I think she's so good in that movie. We don't talk about it enough. Plus Tom Hardy's in it. We just got talking about Mike Feist, Norman Reedus. Like, I really think this cast, like, it's almost like one of those ones. It's like, can you really make a bad movie with these people in it? Like, is it possible? I mean, of course anything is possible, but these people, I think they have something on their hands with the Bike Riders. So I'm really excited for that film. In my next film, I'm going to take another swing, and it's not a huge swing, but I'm going to do The Watchers.
The horror movie. Mm-hmm.
The horror movie from Ishana Night Shyamalan. Both Shyamalans are coming out with movies this summer. I think it's really cool, but I am actually banking that Ishana Shyamalan's movie is going to be better than her father's. That is my hope.
Hope so.
That is my hope. M. Night can be up and down. You know what I mean? M. Night's like, M. Night's a roller coaster guy. But I think Ishana, I think she's coming in with a different kind of directorial debut. She has Dakota Fanning with her, Georgina Campbell. Like, I think, I really like the trailer. I think the trailer looks good. I think the cinematography is already nuts just in the trailer. So I'm gonna go with The Watchers.
Yeah, that's I'm really excited about her. This being her debut, The Watchers. It looks really good. I'm excited about that, especially with Dakota Fanning. I love just like where she's at right now. She's on Ripley as well on Netflix right now, doing some good work. And so she's really making a huge resurgence. And Ashana as a new coming voice, obviously a legacy, legacy filmmaker, and the legacy that precedes her is it's an interesting one that demands conversation.
For sure.
Despite some of his failures in his career, M. Night Shyamalan is still a brand name, still a household name.
For sure.
More people know about Shyamalan than they do a lot of directors currently working, just because he's made some hits, some undeniable hits, and people go to see his movies. And so, she has a lot to live up to, but I'm excited about her too. I'm excited about what this might ultimately entail. And now we'll officially move on to selecting one by one pick. So I'll only make one pick and then we'll just go back and forth that way. My next pick, I'm going to return to franchises, and it's going to be a movie coming out next week, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
I'm betting a lot on this one. I think that if we look at the other 3 Planet of the Apes movies that have come out before this, those were all really, really good, especially with Matt Reeves behind the camera on those last 2. Not everything necessarily works, but I think that this is a franchise that they have learned how to take care of, and they learned how to really mine everything out of it for its philosophical ideas, for its intellectual ideas, because even if you look at those original Planet of the Apes movies, they all have really interesting ideas at the center of them. They get a little crazy by the later editions, but they all deal with some actual intellectual conversations and thoughts about progression and humanity and the treatment of other beings and other races. And this one looks to definitely get us to a place that we haven't been to in the modern context. I'm actually really excited about this one. And I think that this is a franchise pick that maybe not a lot of people have huge expectations for at this particular point, because it's been a while since that last one. But I think it's gonna probably sneak up and catch a few people by surprise. Like, wow, they made 4 good ones in the 21st century. Like, who would have thought that? That's at least my hope when we see this movie in a couple of weeks. So that'll be my next pick.
Yeah, man, I really am excited for that movie. Like you said, it does feel like a franchise that they've taken care of. And not only that, but just how good those movies look is crazy. But take that and add years of technology to it. Can you imagine how good this movie is going to look when we get in this theater? I think it's going to look very good, especially coming off like Godzilla versus Kong and how good that movie. Or Godzilla Kong, how good that movie. I think we're in for kind of a secret treat. Again, it's a franchise, but like you said, it's kind of under the radar a little bit right now. My 6th pick is also very franchisey. I could not put this on my list. I can't help it, bro. I'm going with Alien Romulus. It has to be there.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick.
It's a great pick. Fede Alvarez is nuts. I think he's a great filmmaker. He just needs more movies. That's really all it is. And I think Alien Romulus will be another great addition to his repertoire, man. So I'm very excited for this movie. I love the trailer. I think the trailer does what it needs to do. Not too much, not too little to get butts and seats, man. But yeah, I'm excited for Alien Romulus and Fede Alvarez's take on that franchise. Love the franchise, man.
100%. I mean, he's been incredibly consistent so far, in his takes on franchises, in particular with, what he did with Evil Dead. I mean, he's shown to be like a very, very intentional and visionary filmmaker, especially within the horror genre. And so I think it's a great pick. I feel like that this is the potential film that can restore the Alien franchise to its prominence. Those past few films, they've been good, but nothing can really capture that original spirit of those first 2 movies. I think they've been trying to capture that for a while, but Fede Alvarez, if anybody can do it, I think he has a really good shot at it. My next pick here, smaller movie, Sing Sing from A24, starring Coleman Domingo. I think that this will be another incredible year for him. He's obviously coming off of Rustin, as well as Color Purple. I mean, he's just been on an absolute amazing streak of films. Everybody is now waking up and recognizing the talent that is Coleman Domingo. And I think that this is a smaller movie. You probably haven't heard about it, but I'm very much looking forward to. It already debuted at South by Southwest. He's basically imprisoned for a crime that he did not commit. And he has to, sort of find his purpose, a new purpose in life. And he starts to act in a theater group alongside other incarcerated men. And so that's really all I know about it. Haven't dove too much into it, but placing high bets and high hopes into the performance abilities of Coleman Domingo, his choices that he's made, which has mostly been great. Obviously, A24 is a distributor behind it, making really, really good choices in their selections and placing a lot of faith in them. And so smaller movie, but I have high hopes for it that I think it'll probably be a standout, from a drama acting performance perspective when we get this movie later this summer.
No, that's another great pick. I was thinking putting that on my list as well, man. Coleman Domingo is just on fire. I'm so happy he's like arrived. You know what I mean? Like it's so great to like be able to I think count on him. Because I know no matter what the movie is, he's gonna do phenomenal. Like he's gonna be probably the best part of the movie. So I really love that pick. It was also gonna be one of mine. My next pick, man, it's just like I'm in the horror realm. I guess my list. I am gonna go ahead and knock it off, man. I'm gonna throw Maxine on here. T. West he's reliable. I mean, X and Pearl are phenomenal movies, and I really think Maxine has the opportunity to make one of the best, to be honest, horror franchises trilogies we've ever gotten. It's a very hard thing to do, is to make a horror trilogy and all 3 of them be good. And I think the way Ty West is going about things, I think we're going to get it, man. And Maxine looks really good. It looks so different from the other 2 while maintaining the spirit of that world with the characters. I'm ready for Maxine, man. I think it'll be another welcome addition to I guess this franchise is low key like a little franchise now. So.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, we've been waiting a couple of years for this one. You know, Pearl and X both came out like within a 6-month time frame of each other, so we got those like relatively quick. He shot them back to back, obviously, and so we've had to wait a little bit. But this one is going to be set in the '80s in Hollywood. Maxine is pursuing an acting career in adult films, and so I think it's just going to be a fun ride. It'll be probably a great time in the movie theater because the reactions of seeing X versus seeing Maxine, or not Maxine, excuse me, Pearl,
Pearl.
two completely different movies, you know, even though they're following similar characters, but two completely different movies, two completely different tones. I think that it's going to be one of the more entertaining and enjoyable movies, especially again out of the horror realm, which we're getting a lot of this year. So I'll move on. My next pick, I'm sticking with small movies. I'm just sticking with some of these indie joints that probably a lot of people won't see. The next pick that I'm making is a movie that actually premiered at Sundance earlier this year. That'll be dropping, I think, this summer. It's called Dee Dee. I think that's how you pronounce it, Dee Dee. This is a movie from Sean Wang, who is a Taiwanese filmmaker. And really the reason I'm picking this for two reasons. One, it's a coming of age movie. Those typically do really well when you're, you know, doing a coming of age story in the 21st century. We've had a lot of great examples just kind of knock it out of the park of, you know, watching somebody really come of age and find their way. 500 Days of Summer, you know, Little Miss Sunshine. What was the one that came out a few years ago? The skateboarding movie that Jonah Hill directed. That
Mid-90s.
Mid-90s is another great one. I mean, 8th Grade. There's just so many great examples of coming of age movies. So I'm placing high hopes for that fact. But then also Sean Wang, man, he's fresh off of an Academy Award nomination. He did the short film Nine and Popo. I think that's what it was called on Disney Plus. Nine and WIPO. Yeah, and so that was a really heartfelt, charming short film, and I think he's going to be able to translate all those sensibilities into this feature length film. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Dee Dee, and hopefully, you know, by the time it drops, it'll deliver hopefully on what I'm expecting it to.
Yeah, man, these lists are hard because we always on the same page. Dee Dee was also on my list. I know that movie's gonna be fire too. By the way, it's just.
I sure hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks. Yeah, I just think it's just one of those. It's like, yep, that's probably going to be a good movie. So can't wait to watch that. Next on my list, man, I kind of feel like I'm gonna keep the horror going. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna just go ahead and do. This is crazy how many movies, horror movies.
It's a lot of horror coming. It's a big summer. That's probably why the spring and this year has been bad so far for horror. It's not been a great year so far, if you ask me. There have been a lot of duds, and so I'm thinking the summer movie season can rebound and do a lot for horror movies.
Yeah, for sure. This one's kind of a swing just because the trailer is like barely even real. Like it's like a 40-second trailer and you barely see anything, but I love the ambiance that it provides. My next pick is going to be Sweet Part 2. I think Neon, I think, has just been going crazy. First and foremost, Neon has been doing very well with their recent releases. And yeah, man, it's something about this. Something about you know, I guess the other name for the film is Long Legs, right?
Yep.
It just feels good. You know, Nicolas Cage is in it, but he's like not even in the trailer. I don't know what's happening, but again, it just feels like something that I'm going to enjoy. So it's kind of a swing just because I don't know much about it. You just watch the trailer and you're like, huh, I want to watch that, and that's how I feel about it, man. So I'm gonna go with Long Legs here.
I think the trailer is great, by the way, because it's all just like really eerie energy and vibes that doesn't tell anything about the story. It's also like
me anything.
It's broken up in segments too, where it's like this feels like it could be like 3 or 4 different movies. I just love the energy of it and what they did here. They're holding back a lot, and so I'm curious to see, you know, how this one shapes out once it does drop. For my next pick, I'm a little torn. I am looking at a couple of franchise picks potentially here, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna return to something well known. It's a movie we're gonna see in a couple days. Fall Guy. I'm putting the Fall Guy on my list.
As you should.
Ryan Gosling, what a star! What a charismatic force of nature. I think that just him and Emily Blunt together and doing a big action popcorn summer blockbuster movie about Hollywood stuntmen, I mean, it's going to be fun. I think that it's going to do what it needs to do. It won't necessarily set the world on fire. It's not going to be, what Barbie did or anything like that last year. But I think it'll be a movie that people just go to looking for a good time, looking at a reliable movie star like Ryan Gosling and saying like, "Yep, I got my money's worth here." He picked another good one, which I'm glad he's back on this trajectory as opposed to what he did with The Gray Man a couple of years ago. Like Ryan Gosling, you stay in theaters, my guy. You are a star. You are a force of nature. Keep these movies on the big screen because you deserve that platform. And I think The Fall Guy is going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll put that on my list as my next pick.
Yeah, I think it is going to be great. It's going to be fun. And again, that chemistry that Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling had at the Academy Awards was like, oh, is this what we're getting in the movie? I love that. So yeah, I'm very excited to watch that film, man. My next pick. This is when it gets hard, right? Towards the end, where you're like, "Uh-oh, what am I going to pick on?" I'm going to go ahead and do it. I am going to pick Beetlejuice. I think, yeah, it's looking scary, but it's one of those ones that I just love Beetlejuice, man. And I think, it's been a while for Tim Burton. He hasn't been here in a minute. And Michael Keaton is here. And I really like Jenna Ortega, Winona Ryder. I just really enjoy the cast, I think, of this film. And so, of course, we'll see what happens. A movie like this can be scary, for sure, to put on the list. But I'm going to go ahead and go with it, man. I think the teaser is fun. Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Well, Tim Burton's been here. He just hasn't been making good movies in a while. That's the thing. I think I thought about it. Definitely thought about it because they do have that original cast back, and I want it to be really, really good. But I'm nervous for it. It's been so long. It's been over 30 years since that first one, and Tim Burton is just not. I mean, but to be fair, I mean, Wednesday was such a hit. He did great work on that, and he was able to like bring that to life and turn it into a sensation, for Netflix. And so maybe he just carried that momentum over to Beetlejuice. That's at least what I'm hoping for, where it's like, let's just keep that momentum going. Like, you obviously got a hot hand here, return to something that's somewhat familiar, and we can bang it out that way. So I think hopefully it can deliver and pay off. Next pick, yeah, it does get hard here. This is my ninth pick. You just made your ninth pick. This is my ninth pick. I will venture into horror myself. I haven't done that in a few picks. I'll go back into horror. I guess somewhat of a swing for me here, but why not? It's a movie coming out later this month, In a Violent Nature. That's going to be my next pick. I'm putting that on my list. This movie I'm really excited for just because of the premise. This is a horror movie that is completely told from the perspective of the killer, which when you think about it, it's like, wow, we haven't really had one of those before, or at least not for an entire movie where we're just like following the killer and seeing everything that's happening, I guess, behind the knapsack over his head. He very much looks like Jason Voorhees, which I think is all by design, very intentional. Yeah, he does. But we're just following the killer and just seeing like how that process, I guess, takes shape, and when you think about iconic killers like Jason and Michael Myers and all of them, a part of me has wondered, like, what the hell are they be doing on the in-between? Like, they got a lot of time to kill. Like, what are they doing to just, like, kill time? Are they just walking? Like, what's happening here? And hopefully this movie can add some good, colorful commentary to what that might look like and maybe be even a little bit funny. So, yeah, it'll be coming out this Memorial Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm excited for that one. Can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, man. I watched the trailer for that and I was like, this is going to be a very, very interesting. Because what are you even doing, bro? Like, what is going on? There's just so many questions. Why are we following you? I think in the trailer, he like sits down for a little bit. It's like, oh, you taking a rest. Like, oh, you tired.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, even the thought of that, like, let me just like take a little rest real quick because I can't walk no more. That's funny as hell to me. So stop at Burger King real quick. Maybe we need a little, like, 6-piece nugget or something. I don't know.
Man, it's like, dang, are you famished? Like, oh man, it's too funny, bro. Well, I'm actually I'm glad you put that on your list. I think it's going to be great. My I guess it's the last pick, huh?
Yeah, 10th pick.
I'm going to go with a small film called Dandelion. And it's just about like a singer-songwriter, and I think she ends up spiraling and things happen, but Kiki Lane is in it, and what's his name? Thomas Doherty. There it is. Thomas Doherty. And yeah, I just like the way it looks. It also, I love Kiki Lane. I think she's really good in everything that she's in. She's not always in like the most perfect projects, but when she's in something, I'm like, yes, I love that Kiki Lane was in this. So I'm a root for Kiki Lane here, and I'm gonna go with Dandelion.
Okay. My last pick, man. This is tough. I'm going back and forth between like 3 or 4 things right now. Couple of franchise picks, a couple of small picks, but I made a lot of smaller movies in my list, which I enjoy. But I think I'm gonna go with something well known, and it's between 2 things, and my heart is telling me one thing, and my mind is telling me another. I'm gonna go for my 10th pick with Twisters. I'm gonna go with Twisters.
I thought about it. I was close.
It was between that or Bad Boys Ride or Die. Bad Boys 3 was good, better than I expected it to be. The odds of a 4th movie being good,
that's why I was like,
I don't know. And so I'm gonna place and hedge my bets on Twisters, a 2nd movie, which just hasn't been around in a while. They haven't made a Twisters movie since like 1996, and from what I understand and know that this is just a sequel. It's not like a reboot or a remake. And again, I'm just placing some faith in Glenn Powell, man. I really, really, really like him. I like him a lot.
Same, bro.
Especially in Top Gun Maverick, Anyone But You. The guy is just really, really good, and so I'm giving him 2 movies on my list. I picked Hitman earlier. I'm gonna go ahead with Twisters, for his big blockbuster play for the summer. I'm hoping that this is like, it's not going to be Top Gun Maverick by no stretch of the imagination, but I'm hoping that this is one of those ones where it's like, I didn't know that I would enjoy Twisters as much as I did. Like, that's a pleasant surprise of a movie. I didn't think that they can make another great Twisters movie, another really enjoyable Twisters movie. So somewhat of a swing on my end, but yeah, I think that that's going to be hopefully like in the middle of July, something that we just go and check out and we walk out pleasantly surprised by. But yeah, that'll do it for our official list. Let's run down and just, recount all the 10 movies that we picked. Why don't you, run down everything that you drafted so far for the 2024 summer movie draft?
All right. So, my first pick was Inside Out, followed by Furiosa, A Quiet Place, Day One, The Bike Riders, The Watchers, Alien Romulus, Maxine, Long Legs, Beetlejuice. Ooh, pray for that one. And Dandelion. Those are my 10 picks for the summer movie draft.
It's a good list. My 10 picks. First overall pick was Deadpool and Wolverine. Second pick, Kinds of Kindness. Third pick, Evil Does Not Exist. My 4th selection was Hitman. 5th movie drafted, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. 6th pick, Sing Sing. 7th pick, Dee Dee. 8th pick, The Fall Guy. My 9th selection, In a Violent Nature. And my 10th movie is Twisters. And so again, the picks here were made with the motivation to find out what's going to be the highest rated on Letterboxd. That is the game that we play.
That is the game.
It's all determined really by consensus, by a mass fan base of people that rate these movies on Letterboxd, which can go any way, honestly. And so we're placing a lot of faith in hopefully what people like, to come this summer. And so again, as I mentioned at the top, it'll be a very, very interesting summer movie season. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of stuff that we're going to be checking out. And obviously we're going to be reviewing many of these. We'll be coming back and talking about them as we see them. And so hopefully we can provide some context and commentary, but we will return after Labor Day and we will take all of the weighted scores. And so once Labor Day is passed, we're going to take whatever score is in Letterboxd at that time. It's going to lock. We're going to take that. We'll add them all up and calculate the averages and then determine, who wins this year's summer movie draft and talk about the summer that was. Hopefully by the end of that conversation, we can look back and say, like, yeah, more of these movies were great than weren't great. I'm hoping that that's the case. That's what we always want. Any final words on summer movie season, things that'll be coming out over the next few months, other movies that we didn't get a chance to highlight or draft or talk about that you maybe want to, highlight or spotlight that'll be dropping in the next few months?
Man, that's a good question. I think Despicable Me is always like a toss in the air. You never know what Despicable Me is going to do because that first one really is a banger. We know it's going to make money, but I think the quality of the movie is interesting because you really don't know. It could come out and be like, how is Despicable Me 4 one of the best? I think they definitely always have like the potential to do that. It doesn't always go that way, of course, but I think the potential is always there. They're making a lot of these movies. Shout out to Beverly Hills Cop. I'm just excited to watch that movie, man.
Fingers
Love that
crossed for
franchise.
sure.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for that film. And then another movie we talked about right off the podcast, Fly Me to the Moon. They got like two of the hottest people in the same movie with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. I think that is nuts. Like, what? Y'all got them two to do a movie together about space shit. So I think that's cool. I am excited to check that out as well. And last thing I want to say is they got Jennifer Lopez doing this futuristic. I don't know what Netflix be doing sometimes, bro. If you watch the trailer for Atlas, it is so like it's like, how did we get here? I really don't know how we got here, but I think
algorithm. That's how we got here.
We got here from algorithm.
She has her own genre and brand of movie. It's the streaming movie.
She does. People click on them J-Lo joints. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Prime Video. It's been a boom for them too.
They used to be so good though. Like Made in Manhattan was like a good movie, and then it was like, I don't know. I just feel like they used to be better than what they.
The only
now.
one that was good recently was the one with Owen Wilson. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Oh yeah, Marry
Me. Yeah, Marry Me. I actually like that movie a lot.
That's a good movie.
That was like one of her better.
Yeah.
She still can have it, you know. But
it's not always her.
I think it's not always her, but definitely a lot of the time it is her. I will say.
Of the time it is her. Yeah, you're right.
I think she works too much. I think we see her too much. You know, I watched The Mother. I didn't like that. I didn't bother with the. There was like a wedding movie on Prime Video. I did watch her visual film for her album that just came out.
Right?
Yeah, it's really bad. Not worth it at all. And so she definitely needs a jolt of energy because also her tour is not selling well right now. I think that they had to cancel a lot of shows, scale back a lot. She's struggling. So I hope it's a win, but it doesn't look that great.
It look crazy. That movie looked crazy. I'm like, how did we get here? No, a couple other movies I do need to call out real quick. Borderlands. That's one of the ones that can go either like it could low-key be great, but also it could also be
I think
terrible.
It's trash. I think it's gonna be terrible.
Also, there's a reason it did not end up on my list. It could also be terrible, but we'll have to see. Also wanted to bring up, where is it? The Crow. What a crazy undertaking to decide to remake The Crow. That is bold. That is like a cult classic. Like I know I've seen people on the internet talk about The Crow like it's one of the greatest things that ever touched God's green earth. I just think it's a very bold thing to do. Crazy. We'll see about The Crow as well. I don't know.
I'm not here for that at all. I
don't.
And they booted it to September, I think, or late August, if I'm not mistaken. It had a June release date, and I like Bill Skarsgård a lot. I mean, I do, but yeah, I don't know. The trailer didn't do anything for me, honestly.
Yeah, we'll have to see with The Crow. And then the last movie I want to bring up because I talked about his daughter. I have to bring up Trap. Anytime M. Night Shyamalan, of course, is on the chopping block, yeah, I always perk my ears up. I don't know how it's going to go, but it's M. Night Shyamalan. He's a legend. You know, I have to check it out. I'll never forgive him, of course, Avatar, but he's a legend in the movie. Again, it could be good. I will say the trailer is interesting because it's like a lot happening in terms of like how many people are like, it's like they're in a big crowd. I don't know what's going on in that movie, but I think his premises are always interesting. So Trap is another one I wanted to bring up. And yeah, I do want to see it and see what that M. Night is talking about.
Yeah, I'm not watching the trailer. I just don't want to see anything before I see the movie. So I'm going to do my best to avoid it, which is going to be difficult. But to have a summer where two Shyamalans are releasing movies, it's a good time. There's a Garfield movie coming out with Chris Pratt voicing.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
You know that. I don't think it's going to be great by any means, but it could be huge. That could be a huge movie.
Yeah, it could be good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it could be good. I don't think it could be good per se. They've made Garfield movies and
they have.
Nobody talks about them. So
yeah,
but it could be big though. It could definitely get a lot of people out there to see it. I don't deny its commercial viability at all. But you know that remains to be seen. We talked a little bit about Bad Boys.
Yeah,
I mean, there's that's really kind of it.
that's really it.
I don't know if again, I think that this summer it could have some sleeper hits, some things that we really enjoy, but it's not going to be like we're typically used to, where every weekend there's huge hits, there's huge franchises, big name recognition, big stars. That's not really the play for this year. So much stuff got booted to 2025. 2025 is going to be super competitive from just like a weekly release standpoint. So I don't know how that'll go, but we'll ultimately have to see, and we will certainly revisit this conversation come Labor Day, come the end of the summer.